Hi everyone. Here's my third story for Rosh Hashanah. I hope you like it. It's a bit of a fairy tale, and it goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a very kind king. His name was Avmal, and Avmal established his own kingdom. His kingdom was called Ogma. And everyone loved Avmal. At least they thought they did. You see, he built fabulous cities. He made sure that everyone had everything they needed. But after a while, a few people realized they had everything they needed, but not everything they wanted. They wanted more. They began to turn greedy. And the leader of this group of people, his name was Mazux. And Mazux told people that he wouldn't just give them everything they needed, he would make sure they got things they wanted too. More land, more money, more of anything. And eventually, Mazux got the idea. Perhaps I could be king. Well, as fortune would have it, eventually Mazux did become king. He became so powerful that he was able to kick King Avmal out of his own palace and take over the throne. And Avmal went into exile, hiding in a very far land in distant caves where he knew that he would be safe and people would have a hard time finding him. At first, most of the people were okay with the change. They still had everything they needed. Sometimes now it meant they could get more of the things they wanted. What could be so bad, right? Except then it started that the people who were getting more of what they wanted, they were taking it from other people in the kingdom. And so some people were getting less. And that same spirit of kindness that seemed to pervade the kingdom, well, that was going away too. Oh, I miss the days in which Avmal would walk through the streets of the kingdom and he knew each of us by name. He knew us because he loved us. Mazux doesn't know our names. Mazux doesn't care really what happens to us. But some people thought that Mazux made them happy. And as time went on, more and more people realized that it wasn't that desire for having more that made people happy. What made them happy was having everything they needed. So they had a crisis on their hands. The elders of the kingdom, the people who had been King Avmal's advisors before he went into exile, they called a meeting. What are we going to do? Do we even know where to find him? Can we bring him back? Will Mazux leave? Well, then one person spoke up. I heard a rumor that King Avmal was in the far distant caves to the west. Perhaps you could find him there. The advisors were worried. They could get there all right, but it would take a whole month. It would take a whole month just to be able to see their king again. But they decided the journey was worth it. And they began and they set out on this long journey. And eventually they found their king hidden away in the caves. King Avmal wasn't sure what to think at first. I was overthrown. How am I to believe that you want me back now? No one stopped Mazux from taking over before, not even you. You're supposed to be my advisors. You're supposed to help me. There was a long silence. The king didn't want to trust easily because, after all, the people had gone astray, but yet Avmal, well, he missed his kingdom. He loved his people. And right there on the spot, the elders each pleaded with the king. Some even got down on their knees and begged him, saying, please, king, we are not ones to get on our knees and beg. Please, we swear to you, we love you. We will help bring you back. Help us bring light back into our kingdom and goodness and kindness. Eventually, Avmal was persuaded. He was a good man with a good heart. And He couldn't stay angry for long. And so the advisors journeyed with Avmal back to his kingdom of Obma. When the people saw that Avmal was back, they began parading with him through the streets. The king has returned. The king has returned. How he loves us. How the king loves us. And they marched all the way up to the palace. And even Mazooks, in all of his shadowy and wicked ways, even he could not deny that the people were overjoyed. And then this strange thing happened. At first, Mazooks was afraid for his life, for after all, it was his wickedness that had taken over the kingdom. I forgive you, but I threw you out, and I forgive you. Please, let me come home. Even Mazooks was so touched by the king's forgiveness that from that moment on, Avmal stayed the king of Obma, and the kingdom was happy and delightful. Now, you might be wondering what this story has to do with Rosh Hashanah. But just like the evil king Mazooks took over the kingdom, sometimes those shadowy parts of ourselves take over who we are. And just like the advisors wish to get the good king back, sometimes there's that little voice in our head that wishes we could be more like the people we admire most, wishes that we could be more like Hashem. And that month-long journey to find the king, that's like the month of Elul, leading up to Rosh Hashanah, where we take time to reflect. And then coming back and welcoming the king in, that's like the days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And that moment where Avmal forgives Mazooks, well, that's the moment that we forgive others, and others forgive us, and we forgive ourselves on Yom Kippur too. This story is a wonderful way to think about the High Holy Days. And I hope it provoked some thought in you too. Just remember, friends, King Avmal in the story always loved his people, just as God always loves us. We just have to welcome him home. Lashana Tova.